Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, and get this, we're talking about college fencing,
Mm-hmm.
especially for all you fencing families out there.
Yeah.
Now, I bet some of you might be thinking, hold on, how do those fancy footwork drills and, blade clashes on the strip translate into a ticket to a top-tier university like Harvard, MIT?
Right. It's not the first thing that comes to mind.
But guess what? It's totally possible. Fencing can be a secret weapon, a real ace up your sleeve when it comes to college admissions.
Absolutely. It might surprise you to learn that the oldest college sporting trophy in the U.S., it's called the Little Iron Man, goes to, you guessed it, the top men's fencing team every year.
Really?
Yeah. So you can see that collegiate fencing has some pretty deep roots.
So it's a legacy sport.
Yeah.
But how does that history help today's young fencers aiming for college?
Okay, so let's break it down. First, you've got to understand the different levels of college fencing programs out there. We've got NCAA Division I, which is, the big leagues. It's the most competitive, and it's where athletic scholarships, although often partial, are a real possibility.
Gotcha. So for those with their eyes on the prize, Division I is the goal. But what about those who, want a bit more balance between academics and athletics?
That's where Division II and III come in. They really emphasize participation and teamwork. You can hone your skills and love for the sport without that D1 pressure cooker.
So there's a pass for everyone, which is great. Okay, now let's get to the parents out there listening. When should we start thinking about college if, let's say, our kid is showing some real promise in sensing?
Yeah.
Is it too late if they didn't start at like 5 years old?
That's a question I get a lot. And here's the thing. Starting young, around, say, 6 or 7, is definitely ideal for building that strong foundation.
Yep.
But it's not a make or break situation. College coaches aren't just looking at your kid's trophy case. They're looking at potential, athleticism, and that passion, that drive to succeed.
Okay, so natural talent and a love for the sport can go a long way. But how do young fencers really catch a college coach's eye? What do they need to do?
Well, it's a few things. First off, they've got to showcase their skills, and the best place to do that is at regional and national youth tournaments.
Okay, so competition experience.
Exactly. Think of it as building a fencing resume.
Right, a fencing resume. Makes sense.
Mhm.
But is it all about winning? Or are there other things that matter?
Winning's great, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But coaches are looking at the bigger picture. They want to see how a fencer handles pressure, how they learn from losses, and how their technique is developing over time. Remember, they're thinking long term, not just a single tournament.
That's reassuring, actually. So it's not just about racking up medals. Now, when it comes to reaching out to those college coaches, how early is too early? When should kids start that process?
Well, freshman or sophomore year of high school is a good time to plant those seeds. Send an email, introduce yourself, express your interest in the program, and, attach that fencing resume we talked about.
Okay, so be proactive, start early. But what's the secret to a good first impression email? How do you stand out in a coach's inbox?
Make it personal. Show the coach you've done your homework. Mention something specific about their program that really resonates with you. Don't just list your accomplishments. Let your personality come through.
Right. It's like a job application, but with a personal touch. Okay, so we've talked about emails. What about campus visits? When should those start happening?
You can do unofficial visits anytime. It's a great chance to just explore the campus, soak up the atmosphere, see if it feels like a good fit.
Right, that's more exploratory. What about the more formal visits where you're really trying to make an impression on the coach?
Those are usually official visits, and they typically happen senior year. During those visits, the school might cover some of your expenses, and you'll have more structured interactions with the coach and the team.
Gotcha. So those are the VIP visits, the big leagues. Any tips for making the most of them?
Yeah, come prepared with a list of thoughtful questions. Ask about the team dynamic, the training philosophy, even how they balance academics and athletics. Remember, it's a two-way street. You're evaluating them just as much as they're evaluating you.
It's all about finding the right fit, which makes sense. Now, let's get real for a second. College fencing, it's a huge commitment, right? What kind of time are we talking about? How many hours a week?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a commitment. You can expect to dedicate around 20 or more hours a week to practice, training, and competition.
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah, time management is going to be key. Those late night study sessions are going to become your new normal.
Okay, so it's a lot to juggle. But there must be some serious benefits to all this hard work, right?
Oh, absolutely. You'll get expert coaching, you'll improve your technique, you'll reach peak physical condition, and you'll develop mental toughness that'll help you way beyond the fencing strip.
Right, those are life skills.
Exactly. And let's not forget the camaraderie, the bonds you form with your teammates. That's something truly special.
So it's about pushing yourself, building those lifelong friendships, and gaining skills that will benefit you in all aspects of life, not just fencing.
Exactly. It's a transformative experience.
I love that.
Yeah.
This is all incredibly insightful.
Yeah.
Now, for those families just starting out on this college fencing journey, are there any common pitfalls, things they should try to avoid?
Yeah, one mistake I see a lot is focusing too heavily on high school achievements alone. College coaches are more interested in potential, in how your fencer is developing over time. Don't get discouraged if you haven't won every tournament. Focus on continuous improvement and showing that passion for the sport.
So it's about the growth mindset, the long game, not just those short-term wins. That's a great reminder for both athletes and parents.
For sure. Another thing I see sometimes is families kind of neglecting the academic side of things.
Right.
Gotta remember, you're a student athlete. Emphasis on student.
Okay, so those late-night study sessions we talked about, those are non-negotiable. What kind of, academic benchmarks should fencers be aiming for if they're serious about college?
Well, the NCAA, they have specific eligibility requirements, right? You've got minimum GPA requirements, certain core courses you have to take. But honestly, you want to aim higher than just the bare minimum if you're looking at those really competitive colleges.
Right, of course.
And don't forget about those standardized tests, the SAT or ACT. Those are still important.
Okay, speaking of the NCAA, those rule books, they can be a bit intimidating, right?
Yeah.
What are the absolute must-knows for families going through this whole process?
Yeah, it can seem overwhelming.
Yeah.
One key thing to remember is once your kid hits ninth grade, boom, they're considered a prospective student athlete. Officially. And that means they're under NCAA recruiting rules.
Okay, that sounds pretty official. What does that mean practically, though? Like day to day?
Well, it means there are rules about how and when coaches can contact you. Like, for example, in-person off-campus contact. Generally a no-go until after your junior year of high school.
So no secret meetings at tournaments or anything like that?
Not quite. There are some exceptions, like if you're attending a college camp that happens to be on campus.
Okay.
But generally those early years, it's all about showcasing your skills on the strip and, using those emails and your fencing resume to make that first contact.
So playing by the rules is essential. Gotcha. What about those unofficial campus visits? Are those okay before junior year?
Oh, absolutely. Unofficial visits are great. It's a chance to get a feel for the school, for the program without all the pressure. Just remember, the family covers all the expenses for these visits.
Okay.
And contact with the coach. It's pretty limited, just what any prospective student would have.
Right. So it's more about exploring, not a formal recruiting thing.
Exactly. Now, once your child becomes a junior, things start to get a bit more serious. That's when you see those official visits, often funded by the school, coming into play.
Okay, so those are the VIP visits where the pressure's really on.
You could say that it's a chance for the coach to really showcase their program, roll out the red carpet, and for your child to really get a taste of what college life would be like there. They'll probably meet the team, attend practice, really get a feel for the program's culture.
Sounds intense. Any tips for making those official visits really count?
Definitely come prepared with questions and not just surface level stuff. Ask about the training regimen, the team dynamic, academic support, even the social life. Remember, it's not just about whether the coach likes you, it's about whether you can see yourself thriving there for 4 years.
Right, finding the right fit. Makes sense. Okay, let's talk about the topic that's probably on every parent's mind, scholarships. What's the real deal with fencing scholarships?
Okay, let's be realistic. Full ride scholarships for fencing, they're pretty rare, especially at that Division I level.
Right.
Partial scholarships are more common, though, and they can still make a big difference.
So parents, don't quit your day jobs just yet.
Exactly. But look, a partial scholarship is still a huge accomplishment. It shows that your child's talent and dedication are recognized.
Absolutely. So what kind of factors are coaches looking at when they're making those scholarship decisions?
It's a whole mix of things. National ranking, tournament results, of course, but also the coach's assessment of your child's potential and even, the school's overall athletics budget plays a role.
So it's not just a simple formula. Are there any strategies, though, to maybe boost those scholarship chances?
Starting early, competing at a high level as soon as possible, building relationships with coaches, that's all key.
Okay.
And those personalized emails, those proactive follow-ups, they really can make a difference.
So stand out from the crowd, show genuine interest.
Gotcha. Now, are there any major differences in recruiting between the different divisions? Yeah, for sure. Division 1, as we said, it's the most competitive. Coaches are actively scouting nationwide for those top athletes.
So the big leagues of recruiting, what about Division 2 and 3?
Division 2 is similar, but the pool of recruits might be a bit smaller. And Division 3, they often take a more holistic approach. They're looking for well-rounded students who are going to contribute to the whole college community, not just the athletic program.
Okay, so academics and personality play a bigger role there.
Exactly. Athletic talent is still important, of course, but it's not the only thing they consider.
Gotcha. So finding the right division for your child's goals and personality, that's crucial. Now, we've talked a lot about the external game, the tournaments, the recruiting, the scholarships. But what about the internal game, the mental toughness that fencing requires? How do young fencers develop that edge?
That's such a crucial aspect that often gets overlooked. One key is fostering a growth mindset. Help your child embrace challenges, learn from setbacks, focus on continuous improvement rather than just winning or losing.
So it's about the journey, not just the destination.
Precisely. Encourage your child to develop coping mechanisms for stress and pressure. Things like mindfulness, visualization, positive self-talk, these can be game changers. Seriously.
Right, building that mental toolkit to handle those high-stakes moments.
Exactly. And remember, mental training, just like physical training, it takes practice, consistency.
Makes sense. Now, before we move on, I have a question that I'm sure a lot of people are wondering about. What about walk-ons? Is there a chance to make a college team if you weren't actively recruited?
It's definitely possible, but I gotta be honest, it's important to be realistic about it.
Sure.
Walk-on spots, they're limited, and the competition can be fierce.
So it's a long shot, but not impossible.
Exactly. If your child's determined, encourage them to connect with the coach, show off their skills, really demonstrate their passion.
So take initiative, prove yourself. Gotcha. Now, let's go back to that timeline for a second. We talked about starting those initial conversations with coaches, freshman or sophomore year. But when do things really start to get serious, like crunch time?
Yeah, junior year, that's when the recruiting process really heats up. Coaches can start having more in-depth conversations, and that's when those official visits start happening.
Okay, so junior year is go time.
You could say that. It's a big year for making those connections and showing what your child can do.
And when does that scholarship conversation usually happen?
It varies, but a lot of offers start rolling in during senior year.
Okay, so it's a bit of a waiting game,
Mm.
but you've got to stay on those coaches' radar.
Absolutely. Keep those lines of communication open, update them on your child's progress, and don't be afraid to advocate for your kid, highlight their achievements.
So it's a mix of talent, timing, and like strategic self-promotion, maybe.
You got it.
I love it. This has been so helpful in breaking down this whole college fencing recruitment world. But I think there's another layer we should talk about. It's not just about getting into college. It's about, thriving once you're there.
Mhm.
What are some of the challenges that are unique to college fencers?
That's such a great point. One of the biggest hurdles is definitely time management. Balancing those intense training schedules with demanding academics, that's tough.
So those late night study sessions we talked about, those aren't just a suggestion. They're like a way of life.
Pretty much. Effective time management and prioritizing, that's crucial. Another challenge is just adapting to that new level of competition and training intensity. College fencing is a step up from high school, both physically and mentally.
Right. There's a whole other level. So how can young fencers prepare for that transition? How do they make it smoother?
It's about building good habits early on, developing a strong work ethic, learning how to manage your time, and cultivating those mental toughness skills we talked about.
So preparation, building that solid foundation. What about the social side of college fencing? What's that like?
You know, that's honestly one of the best parts. Fencing teams, they're incredibly close-knit. You're training together, you're traveling together, you're supporting each other through all the ups and downs. Those bonds, they often last a lifetime.
So it's like finding your tribe, people who get you, who understand the dedication it takes.
Exactly. It's a built-in support system, which can make a world of difference when you're navigating those challenging college years.
Absolutely. This has been so valuable, really. Now, I know we've been focusing on the competitive side of college fencing, but what about those who are more interested in, fencing for recreation or personal growth? Is there a place for them in college?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of colleges have club fencing programs that are open to all skill levels.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a great way to stay active, learn new skills, connect with people who share your interest in fencing.
S A bit more relaxed,
hmm
but you could still improve your fencing and be part of a community.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the value of those club connections. They can lead to friendships, leadership opportunities, even career paths you might never have expected.
Wow. So whether you're aiming for the Olympics or just want to keep those fencing skills sharp, there's a place for you in the college fencing world.
That's the beauty of it, yeah. It really offers something for everyone.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been such a fantastic deep dive into college fencing. But before we wrap things up, there's something we haven't really talked about directly.
Oh, I'm intrigued. What is it?
We've talked a lot about what parents can do to support their young fencers, but what about the fencers themselves? What's their role in all this?
That's a great question. Ultimately, this is their journey, right? And their ownership of it is so important.
So it's not just about following their parents' lead.
Exactly. It's about discovering their own passions, setting their own goals, taking charge of their future.
Okay, I love that. So what advice would you give to those young fencers who are dreaming of competing in college?
First and foremost, be proactive. Don't just wait for opportunities to come to you, go out and find them.
Okay, so take charge.
Exactly. Reach out to coaches, attend camps, visit campuses. Don't be shy about asking questions.
So it's all about initiative, advocating for yourself. What else?
Develop a strong work ethic. College fencing, it takes dedication, discipline, and a willingness to push yourself beyond your comfort zone.
So embrace the grind.
Yeah, put in the work. And remember, it's not just about physical training. Cultivate your mental game. Develop those mindfulness techniques, visualization strategies, positive self-talk, those things we talked about earlier.
So train your mind as well as your body.
Exactly. And lastly, try to enjoy the journey. Fencing is a tough sport, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Embrace the camaraderie, the competition, the friendships you make along the way.
So find the joy in the process, not just the outcome.
Exactly. The college fencing journey, it's an adventure filled with challenges and triumphs. Embrace it. Make it your own.
This has been incredibly insightful. We've covered a lot, but I think there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to talk about.
I'm all ears. What else is on your mind?
Well, we've covered the athletic and academic parts of college fencing, but we haven't really delved into, the financial side of things. College is expensive, and fencing can add to those costs.
That's a really important point, and it's something families need to discuss openly and honestly.
So let's talk about it. The elephant in the room, money.
Okay, let's do it. First and foremost, fill out the EBFSA. That's step one. This form, it determines your eligibility for federal financial aid, which can really make a difference in the cost of college.
So it's a must-do for everyone, regardless of your income.
Absolutely. You never know what you might qualify for.
Great point. What other financial strategies should families be thinking about?
Well, explore private scholarships. There are tons of organizations out there that offer scholarships specifically for student athletes, and some even focus on fencing.
So it's worth doing some research, seeing what's out there.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of networking. Talk to other fencing families, your child's coach, your local fencing club. They often have insights or connections that can lead to scholarship opportunities.
So tap into those resources, build that support network.
Exactly. And remember, financial aid, it's rarely a one-size-fits-all solution. It often involves a combination of federal aid, private scholarships, institutional grants, and sometimes loans.
So it's about finding the right mix for your family.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to reach out to the financial aid offices at the colleges your child is interested in. They can provide personalized guidance and help you navigate the whole process.
This is all so helpful. It's clear that while college fencing can be a big investment, there are strategies and resources to make it work.
Absolutely. It's all about being proactive, doing your research, and exploring your options.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't really touched on is how important it is to match your child's personality and goals with the right program.
Yeah, it's not just about getting into A&Y college that has a fencing team.
Right. It's more nuanced than that.
Yeah, definitely. Some fencers, they just thrive in that high-intensity Division I environment.
Right.
They're driven by competition. They want to train with the absolute best. They might even have Olympic aspirations.
So for those kids, it's all about aiming for the top.
Yeah, exactly.
But what about the fencers who want, a more balanced experience?
That's where Division II and III programs really come in.
Okay.
They offer a great competitive outlet, but they also give students the space to explore other passions, maybe even double major or take on leadership roles on campus.
So it's about finding that balance between like pursuing your passion and also being well-rounded.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something that can be a big hurdle for families. Finances.
Yeah.
We know college is expensive, and fencing, well, it adds to those costs.
It's true.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room, money.
Okay, let's do.
We talked about the AFASET earlier, and that's definitely step one for everyone, regardless of income.
Absolutely. A must-do. But what other things should families be looking into?
Well, you can explore private scholarships.
Okay.
There are organizations out there specifically focused on supporting student athletes, and some even have a fencing focus.
So there's money out there. It just takes a little digging.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to, tap into your network a bit.
Right.
Talk to other fencing families, your child's coach, maybe even alumni from your local club.
Right.
They often have some great insights and connections that can lead to scholarship opportunities.
It's all about using those resources and building that support network.
Totally. And remember, financial aid, it's not always a simple solution.
Right.
It might involve a combination of federal aid, private scholarships, grants from the school, and sometimes even loans.
So it's a bit of a puzzle, finding what works for your family.
Yeah, finding the right mix.
Makes sense.
And, don't hesitate to reach out to the financial aid offices at the colleges your child's interested in.
Okay.
They can give you personalized guidance and help you navigate that whole process.
That's really helpful advice.
Sure.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything in this deep dive into college fencing.
I think so, yeah.
We've talked about the different programs, the recruiting process, NCAA rules, academics, financial aid, even the mental side of things, the importance of finding the right fit.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. Hopefully you're feeling more informed and ready to tackle this whole college fencing world.
Absolutely. It's a lot to take in, but it can be an amazing experience for both the athlete and their family.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, before we say goodbye, I want to leave everyone with one final thought.
Okay, I'm listening.
This journey, it's about so much more than just fencing.
That's true.
It's about growth, resilience, perseverance. It's about supporting your child's passions and helping them navigate all the challenges and triumphs of this exciting time in their lives.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And, who knows, maybe someday we'll be watching your child compete on the world stage.
Now that's a dream worth fighting for.
It is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into college fencing, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back soon with more insights and expert advice to help you navigate this exciting world.
Until next time, on guard, Dove.